I'll do introductions. Since we only have 4 of us, I'll do that. Well, welcome everyone. I want to bring to order the August 21st meeting of the City of Everett City Council Parks and Quality of Life Council Committee. Here with us today, we have Council Member Paula Ryan, our legislative interface, Jennifer Gregerson, Tammy Dunn from the Snohomish County Sports Commission, Scott Pattison from the Mayor's Office, and our City Attorney, David Hall. And I believe the main thing on our agenda today is a presentation by Ms. Dunn on sports tourism in Snohomish County. So take it away.
Great. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present to you this evening. And my name's Tammy Dunn. I'm the Executive Director of the Snohomish County Sports Commission. And I will be talking about sports tourism, about the Snohomish County Sports Commission, who we are, impact of sports tourism in Snohomish County as well as District 2. And I also will talk about City of Everett sports tourism, and then a little bit about our Sports Hall of Fame that we also manage. I'll dive right in. Impact of tourism is very important in any community. We have travelers that come in by air, bus, automobile, and they spend money. And they stay in their lodging, they buy food, buy retail store, go to the retail stores. And what that in turns is that cities and the businesses receive wages and sales and employment for their staff, and it goes back into the community. So we're an economic driver for tourism as a whole. Sports tourism is a driver in the U.S. economy. Sports-related travel spending. This is from 2021, the Sports Events and Tourism Association report, and this report is $39.7 billion in sports-related travel spending. And I actually have an update from 2023, and just to let you know that in 2023, the sports-related travel spending was $52.2 billion. Total economic impact in 21 was $91.8 billion, and total economic impact for 2023 was actually $128 billion. So as you can see, in 2 years, it's definitely increasing the tourism and the impact. Also, the great thing about tourism, sports tourism, it creates jobs, and it's generated in 2021, it generated over 600,000 jobs. And in 2023, it almost generated 760,000 full-time and part-time employees. And then the total taxes revenues, and this is goes to the state, city, is $12.9 billion in 2021, and in 2023, it had $20.1 billion in taxes. And I just really wanted to showcase the difference. And I do apologize that I did not have the 23 numbers on there, but as you can see, as we're coming out of COVID, sports tourism is a huge economic driver in communities nationwide, because this is national figures for us. So who are we? Snohomish County Sports Commission, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are a standalone sports commission. And what I mean by standalone is that we are not a division of the Snohomish County Tourism or the Snohomish County Tourism Bureau or a Convention and Visitor Bureau, so we're completely separate. We are one of 3 within the state of Washington that are separate. Spokane Sports Commission is separate from Visit Spokane, and Seattle Sports Commission is also separate from Visit Seattle. Our vision is to become the premier destination in the region for sports, enriching the community, and increasing economic vitality through sports. So how do we do that? And what do we do? Well, we are facilitating and bringing sporting events to Snohomish County, and that can be from working with our local sports organizations that are here in our own community to working with U.S. Figure Skating and bringing Skate America here to Snohomish County at the Angel of the Winds Arena. So we're attracting visitors to Snohomish County to come and visit and stay. We're promoting a positive image of the county through sports. We provide quality of life opportunities for its residents. And this is where our youth teams, they have the opportunity to play in these soccer tournaments, these baseball tournaments, so that they're not having to travel to Arizona. They can play right here, and it gives our opportunities for our kids to recreate. We also advocate for local sports facility development, and then we also, as I mentioned, work with local sports organizations with their tournaments. Economic impact, Snohomish County, I've done a graph of 7 years. 2018, I will say, were probably the best years out of the 20 years that I've been doing this. We were over $30 million of economic impact. And then, as you can see, COVID with 2020, we were devastated with economic impact in the sports tournaments. 21, we were able to come back, and most of that was outdoor events. And then 2022 and 2023, we started to really bring back the sporting events, and we were close to $30 million in 2023. And the numbers for 2024 are through June of this year. And as you can see, we are almost at the numbers of economic impact for 2023 as a total. So we are really bringing in the events. The events are coming back, and people want to come here. The other metric that we use is room nights. And in 2018, we had over 15,000 room nights for the year. And in 23 and 24, we're close to 35,000. And the little bit of difference on the 23 and 24, a good explanation is that in late 2022, as the Sports Commission, we aligned ourselves as a destination management organization for sports. And we became members of Destinations International. It's an association that a lot of the convention and visitor bureaus belong to, so that we can really work to better our community and be a destination management organization. The other thing is that they have an economic impact calculator through tourism economics. It's an industry standard, and it is, we purchased that in late 2022. So in 23, 24, those numbers reflect us putting in the information from the event organizers into the calculator. And so that's why you see the jump, because in 2018, 19, we were using, not sure where, I can't explain where we came up with those numbers. It was something we did years ago, and so we just utilized a number. So we're with industry standard, like with Visit Seattle, Visit Bellevue. Linwood Event Center uses the standard as well, so really align ourselves.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, you bet. You bet.
So I'm surprised that in 2018, the economic impact was the highest, but the room nights, the graphs don't seem to like track each other. So I was curious if there was something that had happened in 2018 that had such a high economic impact, but not necessarily very many room nights.
It's, I think it's the way we were calculating the economic impact, where there was a lot of events that were not bringing in the room nights, but we still calculate the local impact. And so a lot of our events in 2018 are the annual events where they're weekend, and the room nights might be 50 or 100, and it's not the big numbers of 500 or more. And but we still calculate the economic impact, because when we calculate it, we're calculating the local people, residents that are less than 50 miles, and that'll bump up the economic impact, but it doesn't increase the room nights. Great question, thank you. Just some events that were held in Snohomish County in 2023. We had the U.S. Australian Football League Western Regionals. That was the first time. We had that out at Lake Stevens Community Park. We had Snohomish Bigfoot Soccer that's been going on for about 40 years. We work with them. Perfect Game Northwest baseball tournaments. They put on about 10 different tournaments, Linwood and Everett, and sometimes they use Monroe as well because they can draw up to about 100 teams. 2024, this year we've already had a USA Softball 14U, 18U Class B Western Nationals, Harvey Cup Boys Lacrosse, and then the WWA is the World Wake Association Wakeboard Nationals. We had that event in 2018 and 19 out at Lake Ty Park. Perfect lake for wakeboarding and even wake surfing. So
Where is Lake Ty?
along Fryland Boulevard.
Okay.
Yep. District 2, with each of the communities, the cities, I like to break it down into the District 2s, or the different districts with the county council. And it really kind of helps us tell the story of where the events are held, and it kind of helps us to determine, where can we expand on the events. Economic impact in District 2, 2018, we were about $9 million economic impact. And in 2024, we really jumped up with 10 million. And as you can see, we took a huge jump from 23 to 24. And a lot has to do with the events that we're hosting in Everett in 24, like the USA Softball Western Nationals, very huge event. Everett 3-on-3 has gotten bigger. And then Major League Table Tennis that we had in February. So a lot more events are happening in Everett. So that's one of the reasons why the increase both in economic impact and the room nights. And then the room nights in 2024 were just over 12,000. And again, that's the new calculator that we've used over the last 2 years. We see that it looks like a disparity between 18, but we feel that that's a true number with the room nights for the hotels. A couple of the events District 2's had is the Indoor Lacrosse Everett. That's coming up again in November, but we had it last year. And we had Major League Table Tennis Western Nationals. Both of these are at Angel of the Winds Arena. And then last year at the Rose Hill Community Center, we had the U.S. Trail Running Conference for 2 years in a row. And that was a great venue to use as well. City of Everett. I have to say, I think Everett is just rocking and rolling with the various sports that are happening, and it's a wide range of sports that happen. Economic impact for the city in the district, the city has the mainstay of economic impact with sports tourism impacting the businesses, the hotels. $10 million in 2024 for economic impact. And then again, the room nights, 12,000, because we use pretty much all of the hotels. We have a great relationship in the city of Everett. Mukilteo has some, but Everett has quite a few of the hotels that we partner with and work with.
And so these are like, this would be the Aqua Sox, the Royals, and
No, actually, this is not the pro teams. This is youth, amateur, and adult tournaments. I like to call them participating based because the youth are participating, the adults are participating, they're bringing their families and competing. And then the other piece is with Angel of the Winds Arena. Those are more in the spectator-based tournaments, and that's the Enduro Cross. That's the Fed Cup that we had in 2020. A great partnership with Corey and his staff in bringing those type of events so that our community, our residents can come and see and be a spectator. So we count those, but not the Aqua Sox or the Silver Tips or the Wolf Pack. We do work with them, but we haven't gone into calculating their economic impact or their room nights.
thanks.
Yeah. With the city of Everett, Everett 3-on-3, the last 3 years is an event that happens on an annual basis. We've had NSA of Washington Western World Series qualifier at Phil Johnson. We have the Snohomish Women's Run. It's been happening many years. And then Perfect Game Northwest Baseball. They use Cash Park and Phil Johnson as well. Those are some of the highlights. We also use Everett Community College as a venue. They've had the USA Gymnastics Men's Region 2 Championships this last year in April. And then Everett Performance Omnium, 3 days of cycling, which is, to me, is very cool. And we're working with Ryan and his team. And then here's a list of more 2024 sports events. We've had Blaze on Broadway with Everett Figure Skating. Candyland Invitational is a gymnastics event held at the college. The Milltown Marathon, even the Don Weir Memorial Billiard Tournament at Golden Fleece. They're coming back next year, which is very exciting. So just a lot of diversity in the sports for Everett. I would like to highlight the USA Softball Western Nationals. This event, I will say, is the first event this scale that we've hosted since 2015. And it's a pleasure to work with USA Softball, the local director out of Seattle, because we had 60 fast pitch teams from California, Washington, Idaho, Oregon, Montana, and even one team from Wisconsin. We had the opening ceremonies at Funko Field, and the room nights was over 2,600 room nights, $1.5 million in economic impact. Teams came in on Monday, opening ceremonies on Tuesday. They played on Wednesday through Sunday. And 30 teams were at Phil Johnson, 30 teams were at Meadowdale play fields. And that was just one of the major events that we had that week. We actually had 9 different sporting events going on throughout the county that week alone. And it's just an honor to host something like this. 2015, we hosted a National Softball Association Western World Series, and we hosted 3 of those in my time here. And so those are an honor, and just to have this it was a joy just to see these girls be able to play competitively.
So it's 60 teams, about a week-long tournament then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Very substantial.
Yes. And I'm hoping that we can bring this back in actually 26.
Yeah, do you get feedback in a kind of a regular way from the people participating and how well it went and what they'd like to see?
We do. Actually, my staff, particularly for this one, we were out there every day just checking on the spectators, the teams, the umpires, the tournament directors, just making sure everybody was how they were doing, if they were having an experience. I had everybody at Phil Johnson come to me, and they thought I was the tournament director. But I was there to help and answer their questions and make it simple and make it easy. I will say with Phil Johnson, it was really cool because it's like, hey, if you want to go to Jimmy John's, it's right down the street. And so all of those restaurants I know probably benefited because I was guiding them to knowing where they can eat in a short period of time. People were coming back with Jimmy John's sandwiches.
Well, yeah, in terms of kind of a visitor guide for them in terms of where to eat, where to stay, various resources, shopping, that sort of stuff. Do you produce such a thing? Does the tournament director do that, or is there such a thing for this?
Yeah, we actually do that. We have a staff of 4, and we do that. We have an events coordinator, so we do a lot of things on digitally, online. We had created a list of restaurants that were nearby each of the facilities. We also work with Downtown Everett Association, getting their flyers, the city visitor guide that is online. We can attach that to the information that we get the event director, because we provide all of that information in advance so that people know what they can do and where they can eat before they come, rather than wait until they get here. So we have everything online, and we produce that ourselves and give that to the event director, and it allows us to make some changes and add as we need.
And if we move forward with reestablishing a Chamber of Commerce, then I assume you would work with them as well?
Definitely. Yep. Just like we do with everybody else. Yeah.
Okay.
Local partners, community partners, I will say with what my staff and I do, we cannot do it with our community partners. And we consider the city and the county parks and recreation our partners, our local businesses, Economic Alliance, all of the Chamber of Commerce, the colleges, public and private facilities, hotels, restaurants, even the municipalities, and the staff with the cities, because we truly cannot do what we do without our partners. We're here to build relationships, create memories so that that event owner wants to come back, and we can bring that event back year after year. Last thing, one event we do host every year is a Sports Hall of Fame. If you're at the Angel of the Winds Arena, we do have a display case and a touchscreen, and that is ours that we honor. We honor past athletes, coaches, teams, and sports contributors who have made a significant impact on sports in Snohomish County. And so we honor them every year. We've got a banquet coming up September 25th. And then also what we do is we honor high school athletes with KRKO 1380 and Russell and Hill attorneys. The two, Edmonds Community College and Everett Community College, they recognize collegiate athletes. And then this is where we've also partnered with the Herald Men and Women of the Year in sports. So we can continue that program, which is like 70 years old, I think. So that's one of the things that we do. And then the last thing is, if I'm able to, if it'll work, I'd like to finish with a video that a huge production company out of Arlington produced for us last year. And these are our brand videos that we can promote Snohomish County nationally so that people know with what we can do. And yeah, there we go. There we go. Yes. Whoops, there we go. And thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you and present about sports tourism in Snohomish County, and particularly the city of Everett.
One or two more questions. Is there, with respect to people coming for a multi-day event and the local tourism and hotel nights and that sort of thing, is that, say the events are generally around Everett and some arenas or fields here, what's the sort of envelope of where people stay and shop? Is it the kind of stuff that's fairly highly focused on Everett or Snohomish County, or the Seattle to Marysville area? Do you have a sense of that?
Sure. I think with teams staying, it all depends on where they're playing. They have a tendency to wanting to stay closer. Everett, I'll use an example. Everett is a great benefit because of Phil Johnson and the arena, so a lot of people will stay in Everett. However, I'll kind of outstretch to Marysville. When there's events in Marysville, they have hotels, but I also know that on the weekends, those hotels fill up very quickly with the Tulalip Resort Casino. And so sometimes that compression comes down into Marysville or into Everett. The other thing is I'll use the Snohomish Bigfoot soccer tournament. This year they broke it into 2 weekends. So they had 267 teams the last weekend in July. A lot of those teams are staying in Everett because it's close proximity to Snohomish. I do know some will stay like in Bothell or maybe Linwood because of they can go up Highway 9 or over to 132nd. So there's the minority of it is Everett because of the hotels, and then I will say also Linwood for the hotels because they have one of the most hotels as well. For what they do, we really try to promote the shopping. I'll just admit it, I'm a huge Funko fan. So we want to promote the Funko or down on the waterfront with Everett, even the arts. And particularly the restaurants, so that if they're staying in the hotels in Everett, where can they go eat? And so we want to really try to promote Everett so that people are not having to go into Linwood or down even into Seattle to go eat. However, a lot of people, what they'll do nationally is they'll say, I'll just use an example, Seattle Spartan race is in Monroe, kind of, but they don't say Snohomish County a lot because some people may not know where we're at. But if they say Seattle, they're like, oh, Pacific Northwest. We know where that's at, and it's just a base, but it's in our area. But we also know that if people are traveling across country, they're going to spend a day in Seattle. But we want them to stay up here because it's cheaper. There's more things to do. Marysville with Seattle Premium Outlets does really well. Everett Mall with the new happenings in Everett Mall, that's very exciting. I really can't wait to be able to promote the new things that are at the Everett Mall because that is something that we can promote. People will want to go to. And so that's kind of where we look at. We try to figure out what the teams want to do. We know that they don't want to go hiking, but we know that that's there so that maybe they'll come back. Maybe the parents will come back at another time and they can do other things if they don't have time during that whole time frame.
Well, and that brings up something I think I've seen from time to time. I mean, some people who are involved in sports, sometimes the parents involved in sports, they have seen hundreds of games, and so the opportunity to go do something else while their kid plays, sometimes if they want to do some shopping or something like that, or maybe a jaunt to Seattle or something like that, or to the casino might be attractive.
Yes.
Okay.
I think maybe embedded in your last comment there, I was wondering, what are some things that Everett could have or do to make us even more attractive to folks who are looking through the list of places they might want to have their tournament or their event? What would help us, what are some of the gaps that we maybe have in amenities that if those gaps were filled, then we would be even more attractive?
Sure. Great question. Sometimes I like to say that we're truly missing a 100,000 square foot building. The Angel of the Winds Arena is great. Sometimes the challenge is the flexibility of dates that's available because we have like we're a market for regional events, and that can be for taekwondo, it can be for gymnastics, a lot of indoor, and I think that's some of the pieces that we're missing is indoor and who has the right connections or just knowledge or can introduce us to so that we can find better relationships with the school districts to be able to utilize their buildings with the gymnasiums. I know every school district has something totally different, but just help on that aspect or just introducing us so that we can build a relationship with them. I think also, I think about Phil Johnson, the way it is, it's awesome. I used to work for the city as a seasonal, so I remember doing the fields at Phil Johnson when it was dirt. And having it field turf is great. I think if we can get Cash Park there as well, at least the infield field turf, that would be fantastic because now you can bring in tournaments September and October and November, and then even January, February, March. And you could be very similar to Meadowdale, where they're constantly having tournaments and they're not being rained out. And there's things that we could bring. We could bring Triple Crown, girls fast pitch, a showcase, which involves the collegiate and the college coaches to come back and showcase to these girls. And if we had enough field turf in their season where they need to fit in with what we're doing, I think that can help us as well. But I think overall, I think just countywide, overall is a big indoor facility that can help us, because there's times where we can't use Angel of the Winds Arena, maybe because of cost prohibitive, but then also it's the wrong time of the year because of hockey, and we respect that. So that's sometimes the challenge.
Yeah, don't touch our silver tips.
Yeah.
With the new indoor facility going in Marysville, will that fill that need for the
Yes.
indoor space?
Yes, that would definitely fill that need of being able to have events there. But then I think it can also compress into the hotels for Everett. So if that facility moved out of a concept and became actual, that would be very beneficial and still beneficial for Everett because of the hotels and the close proximity. Doesn't take very long, and I think there's a win-win regionally for us.
Yeah, and the construction on 529 and I-5 will probably be wrapped up by then, so
Right.
the jaunt across
Yep.
the slough will be a lot
Yes.
easier. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. And actually, Scott Patterson, did you want to contribute a little bit in this with respect to additional sports?
Sure. I was invited to this by Jennifer, and I had no idea I was going to follow Tammy in that wonderful presentation with slides and video, and I show up empty-handed thinking, no, I'm just here to say hi. And so, yeah, I think that, I can add on to what Tammy said with regard to kind of what you just asked, Ben, which was facilities that we're missing. We've got an opportunity right now, and clearly we're still looking at Funko Field as an option. We're still studying, through CPA and EIS. But Tammy and I have actually had a conversation about, wow, can you imagine if we had a second baseball stadium in town? And the downtown site would provide that if chosen. And Tammy can elaborate on it, but we feel that, we could really explode in baseball, softball. You can use a baseball stadium for softball pretty easily. Bring in the fence. You throw in Lincoln Field at Everett High School. You throw in North. If we can get the schools to work with us, we could host arguably one of the biggest tournaments in the nation with what we have. And if you had a landmark like a downtown site or a revitalized Funko Field, that you could really build off of. So, in addition to all the other wonderful things she's doing, I think that, a downtown site or even a remodeled Funko Field could have potential impact on sports.
So I guess the idea then is the larger number of fields leverages a larger tournament kind of a focus you can have then. It enlarges that envelope of the size of the tournaments or the number of the teams.
Exactly. Just with the press that we're receiving on what we're doing right now, I have actually had a group reach out to me. De La Salle, it's a high school in the Bay Area. It's notorious for like national championship football teams. They want to come up here and play baseball. We're working on dates right now in March where De La Salle wants to come up here, and Eastside Catholics talking about being a partner and bringing in Archbishop Murphy. We're not even marketing this, and they're reaching out to us just based on what they're seeing in the press on what we're doing in Everett. So I'm currently working with Everett School District, trying to schedule something with De La Salle, Eastside Catholic, and Archbishop Murphy, and we're trying to integrate the three Everett schools to participate in this. And it's a challenge when you have 6 teams and you have 1 field. If we had 2 fields, we could probably have 16 teams in year 1 and 64 teams in year 2. Tammy?
Yeah, that's a great concept because knowing that really it puts us on a national level and that exposure, and that's one of the things that we're trying to do with the Snohomish County Sports Commission because people will see that and they'll come, and if they see it in firsthand, they'll want to talk to the city, they'll want to talk to us and say, okay, we're very interested. How can we bring our event here? And I think, just having 2 baseball fields can, again, what I look at is baseball and softball is the college showcases that brings the college coaches in. And maybe it's near and dear to my heart with education for these athletes to find scholarships, but they furthers their education while they play sports. And they can kind of try to reach their dream, but they also get an education. So I think that's really important. We don't have that, and that can be very unique. And that's one of the things my board has talked to the staff about is how do we find these high school events because they will draw the parents. To come and watch. And so, we're looking at what can we do football-wise, soccer-wise, baseball-wise, in that.
That does bring up one other question, what you'd mentioned there in terms of stuff in Seattle. Everett is something like 15 miles north to south, but from the south end of Everett to Northgate is like 19 miles. It's not a long distance by some standards, but I guess I'm wondering in terms of aggregating fields, venues, we talked about hotels and that kind of zone. In terms of fields or venues, is that a similar kind of zone? How practical is it, Seattle and north, for people to organize a tournament, to have fields separated by maybe half an hour drive?
I only know the answer to that based on being a parent of a competitive athlete. And when we go to Spokane, for instance, for a volleyball tournament, they'll play at the hub, which is in the valley. They'll play downtown, and they'll play out at Eastern. And that's quite a commute. And that's Spokane without Seattle Everett traffic. And I'll tell you what, when you draw the straw to go to Eastern, you actually talk about going home. And it's right there. So, maybe Tammy can tell me I'm wrong, but to try to get people to play in sports in Seattle and Everett and Marysville with our traffic on Fridays and Saturdays, I don't, as a parent, I don't see that working, but maybe Tammy has better input.
Great question. I would actually, rather than Seattle, I would promote what we have in Snohomish County. Because it can be done. Back in 2006, National Softball Association, their Western World Series, we used Marysville Pilchuck High School, their 4 softball fields. We used Sky River Park out in Monroe, and I think even Lake Ty, with it being dirt field, and then the Miracle League. So we had like 5 fields out in Monroe. We had 4 in Marysville. We used 4 at Phil Johnson, the 4 at Cash Park, and then the 3 at Meadowdale, because the softball or the soccer fields were just dirt. So we made it happen with 100. I think it had 110 teams, and so we can do it in the county as long as we have pockets of minimum of 3 softball fields together, and that can relate to for the 8 to 12-year-old baseball. 13U gets a little tricky at Meadowdale, but the challenge is with baseball, if you only have 1 here and there, that makes it even more difficult. Because we had Triple Crown Baseball, they had I think 100 plus teams. And by 2007, they had outgrown Snohomish County and actually moved into Seattle. And then I think by 2011, they were already gone because the costs were too expensive. And it was one baseball field here, one high school, and so it made it challenging for that. But so, yeah, if we had two baseball fields close by, we could do a lot more things.
Okay, great. Councilmember Ryan, any more?
Nothing more.
All right, thank you. A big impact. Well, thank you, Tammy. That's great to know. I've learned a lot today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, and thanks, Scott. And I think that was the
Thank you.
main item on our agenda. The other was to spend maybe a few minutes looking at potential or prioritizing future agenda items, and we've got a list here. Councilmember Ryan, do you have? Okay. So those items on our future list included the Everett Chamber of Commerce implementation, alcohol impact areas discussion, the SEPTED, it's through environmental design.
Crime prevention.
Crime prevention, yes, thank you. Developments in park fencing and gates, then the rest, that's a little more general economic development, vacancy tax. I think separately we'll be mostly working on comprehensive plan related issues. And a parks update for that. So I think, were there any of those in particular that you were, or that you have in?
I was just gonna, I don't know that, well, you would know, but I think the council president and council vice president are working on setting up budget workshops or sort of budget committee meetings during the 5 o'clock hour in September. So theoretically, we have a couple months before your next meeting. That gives me some time to get staff queued up.
can
So maybe
exchange
if you've got priorities, it'd be great to know what I should be seeing, what we
Okay.
can make happen. So.
We can handle those with messages and emails.
Yeah, well, I think with the vacancy
Yeah.
or vacant storefronts, that I know the staff's working on that, so briefing and opportunity for input would be helpful.
All right, well, I think that's what we have for today. Thank you all for attending. With no further business, this council committee meeting is adjourned.